Answering questions in the House of Commons, Mr. Miliband said there should be a speedy decision on the new UN Special Representative to Afghanistan.
Certainly in my discussions with President Karzai and in discussions with the Secretary-General of the UN, we have stressed the importance of a timely and early appointment of a new Special Representative, and I look forward to announcements when the Secretary-General and the Afghan government have come to a conclusion. Like him, I think that should happen sooner rather than later.
He also felt that the NATO countries need to increase their troop numbers in Afghanistan.
The UK is the second largest contributor in Afghanistan, some 7,800 troops. I agree with him that it's a critical issue for all of NATO to see the increased burden sharing of which the Prime Minister has spoken. And I can also assure him that the April Bucharest summit, the NATO summit, is a very important occasion, and there is intensive discussion ongoing in advance of that summit to ensure that there is a proper deployment, increased deployment, however, of troops from European and other countries, not least to help ensure that the Canadians continue their important work there. I think he'd also agree, however, that it's not only through the extra deployment of overseas troops that progress will be achieved in Afghanistan. Critical is the build-up of the Afghan National Army and, of course, the economic and political and social development that must go side by side with military deployment.
Overall, Britain believes that Afghanistan should be run by its own people without outside interference.
We, along with our international partners, have a simple aim, which is for Afghanistan to be run by the Afghans, not to be influenced by outside foreign fighters inspired by Al-Qaeda. And while he says the Taliban were there in 1991, I have to disagree with him about that. We can have a longer discussion about that. But our political aim is for democracy to take root in Afghanistan, not necessarily Guildford-style democracy. I wouldn't want to speak on behalf of Guildford, but I would want to say that Afghans should be able to run their own country. It's a very poor country which deserves to be able to run its own affairs.
On the decision of Kosovo to become an independent state, he outlined Britain's support for them.
The UK has decided to recognise Kosovo's independence and establish diplomatic relations with that country. I set out more details in a written statement put before the House today. Can I just underline three factors which have driven our approach? First, we share the view that leaving Kosovo's status unresolved is, to quote the UN Secretary-General, unsustainable. Second, that after almost 2 years of intensive negotiations, it was clear that a mutually agreed settlement, desirable in many ways, between Belgrade and Pristina was out of reach. And in those circumstances, the implementation of the UN Special Envoy's proposals was the most viable way forward. And third, that the EU and other international players have made clear their readiness to play a leading role in implementing a settlement, a point demonstrated by yesterday's unanimous Council conclusions. Mr. Speaker, we will be working closely with our international partners and with Kosovo's government to support Kosovo as she takes her next steps forward.
For Afghanistan and Kosovo, Britain supports both countries in their quests for long-term peace and stability.
Mr. Speaker, with reference to